From the heartland of America to every nation on earth, this is Jack Van Impe Presents the truth in news and commentary. Here now are Doctors Jack and Rexella Van Impe.
Hello and welcome to Jack Van Impe Presents. You know, oftentimes when we come to the end of our program and the time is gone, I say, ooh, I didn't quite get to that headline that I promised them, so I'm including a couple right now that I was unable to get to a week or so ago. Christian church teams up with high priestess of ISIS. Unbelievable. Another headline, war costs may top $3.7 trillion, not billion, trillion dollars. And Iran's nuclear war preparations must be stopped before it's too late. And we're going to be discussing all of those headlines, the Lord willing, and much, much more. But, you know, I was saying to Jack, are you going to give us a little bit of humor before we get started today? And he said, absolutely. I have one in my mind, and whatever it is, Jack, it's always good.
Oh, Rexella, I'll tell you, we're human, and we have a lot of things go along physically. And lo and behold, I just had an eye exam, and they said, how is it possible for you to see? And remember, I study 40, 50 hours every week. And they said, this eye is not 20 and this one 20, it's 40 and 60. And they said, you shouldn't even be driving a car anymore. Well, the God's been good, but December 28th, I'm going to have it all taken care of. But it reminds me of old Red Skelton and some of his humor. And these two guys were cross-eyed, and they're walking down the road, and they bump into one another. And he says, why don't you look where you're going? He says, why don't you go where you're looking? I used to like old Red Skelton. And one time he held up a shoe with a big hole in it. He says, that's one soul Billy Graham can't save. But anyway, we got to have some fun because the reports we're going to bring you are serious, believe me.
Yes, Jack, even though they're serious, you know, we can have peace in a troubled world. You can have peace, and if you don't, before this program's over, we want to show you how that in spite of what you're reading in the newspapers, you can have peace in your heart. Well, before we get into the headlines, I'd like to explain something that a lot of people are confused about. You heard those two words, rapture, revelation, two events pointing to the return of our wonderful Lord. He said, if I go away, I'm coming again. Two events, 7 years apart, Jack. Will you explain them, please?
The rapture is not the second coming of Christ. Many Christians have confused others by saying that is the second coming. No, the first coming was to earth. The second coming must be to earth. The rapture is not a coming to earth. It's a calling us home to heaven for the marriage to the Lamb, Christ as the church is his bride, Revelation 19:7. And then the bride returns with Christ for the second coming to earth. Now look at the rapture. In 1 Thessalonians 4:16, the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them, with the dead, in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Where did they meet? In the air. That's not the second coming. 7 years later, after that marriage, when he returns to the earth, we find in Revelation 19, verse 11, that he comes regally, royally, majestically on that white horse. The armies in heaven are with him, verse 14. And he comes as the King of the kings and Lord of the lords. That's to earth, because you don't have kings in heaven unless they're saved kings who have no authority there. And he reigns over them for 1,000 years, the kings and all the inhabitants who are left behind after Armageddon, for that's not the end of the world. And 1,000 years, Revelation 20, verse 4, yes, but then he's recommissioned, as I said last week, in 1 Corinthians 15, 24 to 28, and he rules forever on earth, terra firma. The second coming is here. Revelation 11:15, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our God and his Christ, and he shall reign over the kingdoms and the earth forever and forever and forever. Now it's changed because 1,000 years is finished and it's become eternal. And oh, what a world it's going to be. And you know, you guys that don't believe in the rapture have a real problem. Why? What are you going to do concerning the resurrection? All the church creeds believe it. John 5:28. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming in which all who are in the grave shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, salvation, eternal existence with God, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation, eternal loss, eternal hell. Now, why do you have a problem? All right, we see that the dead are going to rise, but what about the living? There's nothing in the resurrection of the dead in the Bible that includes the living unless you believe in the rapture. And there it says the dead rise first, and then we are alive and remain are caught up with him. You can't get a complete resurrection of all believers unless you got the dead and the living, and you got to have the rapture to have that, Rexella. And when he comes to earth, it's called the revelation. He's revealing to all the world. He cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, Revelation 1:7.
Jack, I just want to say one thing here. In the rapture, when Christians go home to be with the Lord, something's going to happen. And I want to say Jack Van Impe is going to receive a great reward. That's when the rewards are given out for what we did for the Lord. The unsaved are not there. They won't get, that's not it at all. The Christians are there. We stand before the Lord. Jack, you're going to receive a great reward when you stand before the Lord.
Oh,
You've
thank
been
you, honey.
so very, very faithful.
Well, there are going to be two groups there, Rexella.
Yes.
Those who are confident and those who are ashamed.
Yes.
1 John 2:28. So get busy for the Lord because he's coming soon, and you have to give an account of your life. 2 Corinthians 5:10.
You won't have to be ashamed, Jack, I'll tell you. Well, now, where are these signs found in the Bible, Jack? Here, the Walking Bible. Where are the signs found in the Bible?
Matthew chapter 24, Mark chapter 13, Luke chapters 17 and 21, and get ready for a shock. The book of Revelation, all of it. Ah, that's poppycock. If you don't believe in the book of Revelation, then throw out the 4 Gospels and all the things Jesus said. What? That's right. Last year, I proved that every sign that Jesus said is found in the book of Revelation. All 21 of them. Why? Because Revelation 22:16 has Jesus speaking. He says, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you in the churches these things, these 22 chapters. And man, if you mock the book of Revelation, you're in trouble with God. For Jesus, through his Spirit, went on to say in verse 18, I testify unto every man that hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add to the things that are in this book, I'll add to him the plagues and judgments that are written in the book. And if any man take away from the book of the words of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city. And from the things written in this book, take away his part out of the book of life. That's what it says. Beware. Don't add or subtract from the word of God. Old Testament as well. Deuteronomy 4:2.
Jack, that's very, very serious. Now, we're going to be getting into some of the signs that the Lord gave to us. And here's a huge sign pointing to the return of the Lord, and that's false prophets and false Christs. Take a look. Christian church teams up with the high priestess of ISIS. I can't believe that one, Jack. Startup Indiana Church uses sex to sell message. Oh my, oh my. And preacher to drive home his sermon theme with a tattoo. Now they're going to be putting the tattoo on him while he speaks and explains his message.
Oh, brother.
Whoa. Going over to Holland, Dutch rethink, Christianity for a doubtful world. They're rethinking Christianity. Well, now, this particular Dutch Protestant church says we're the mainstream and we believe, is there really an existence called God, the supernatural thing out there? I can't believe that he would believe that, Jack.
False prophets.
Apostate University. And we're going out to Seattle. The head of the Seattle University School of Theology came out and, by way of benediction, urged us all to pray however we felt comfortable in these terms. If you want to pray to Buddha or the spirit of the Northwest, then that's okay. Now, the Pope said, this is not right. Don't do it. And here's another Catholic report, Father Jenkins, creative contextualization. A look at the fallout from the issues raised by the Notre Dame president. Now that is John Jenkins. It was his decision to keep the Virginia monologues on campus. Oh my
Again,
word.
the Pope is upset. That's the Catholic report.
And here we are, the dark side of the purpose-driven church. Now we are going to be talking about the Protestants who are going that way. Warren keeps faith at Islamic conference. He's saying we can combine together and go your way too. Rick Warren does it again. Now, you know, friends, I just want to read WorldNet Daily. That's where I got this. This time, Warren was schmoozing with the Islamic Society of North America, and you know who they are, very serious, an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. You know what's going on right now in Cairo, Egypt, and in Egypt in general. The Brotherhood want to take over.
They're terrorists.
They're terrorists, Jack. Now, did Jesus refer to what we're seeing right now? False Christs? False prophets trying to get everybody together, Jack?
Oh, Rexella, this is powerful. Jesus said in Matthew 24, verses 5, 11, and 24, that there would be false Christ and false prophets. Verse 24, let me give it to you clearly, says that they shall create great signs and wonders, in so much that if it were possible, they would deceive even the very elect, the cream of the crop, and Christians. And they're doing it, ladies and gentlemen. That's why so many of you are so bamboozled by these false prophets and false Christs. Listen to Jesus again in Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. They're going to tear you apart. And then he goes on to say in verses 21 to 23 what the outcome will be. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, yeah, we were prophets. We preached in your name, and in your name have cast out devils, and in your name have done many wonderful works. Then will I, Jesus, say unto them, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, you bunch of lost sinners. I never knew you, but we prophesied, we preached, we witnessed, we did marvelous works. I never knew you. I'm bamboozled now. How can that be? 2 Corinthians chapter 11, beginning with verse 14, he says, for there are false prophets among you. And you're shocked to say, how can this be that they could so deceive me? No marvel, Satan himself appears as an angel of light. What? Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers appear as ministers of righteousness. Satanically empowered. God help us, it's going on right now.
Right now, it's happening. Now, one last question I know going through your mind. Can we join all religions together, Jack, Christianity and the other religions?
You believe the 10 Commandments? Commandment number 1, Exodus 20, verse 3, thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's good enough for me. Amos 3:3, can two walk together unless they be agreed? Romans 16:17, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine of Christ, which you received. Avoid them. Ephesians 5:11, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. And 2 John, verses 9 to 11, whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not the Father. He that abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. If there come any unto you and bring not this doctrine of Christ, receive him not into your house, let alone your church. Neither bid him Godspeed. For he that bids him Godspeed, says, God bless you to him, is a partaker of his evil deeds. And when you do, you're going to lose your rewards. Look that text up. Verse 8. Lose your rewards. No crown to lay at the feet of Jesus. Revelation 4, verses 10 and 11.
Oh, Jack, that's our goal. We want to be approved by the Lord when we see him, don't we? So keep that in mind. Now we're going to go